Hello everyone, it's Daryl again. We're trying out a new camera here. It should be a little bit better than the last one. And today we're going to be doing front brakes on a 2007 Lincoln Navigator. We're going to be working on the front disc brakes, hopefully just a brake pad replacement, but we'll see when we get it apart. Again, it's the 2007 Navigator, but it should be exactly the same procedure for any 2007 through 2015 Navigator or Ford Expedition. They should both be the same. We're going to start by using my new jack here I got for Father's Day from the boys, and we're going to lift the front end, secure it safely, block the rear wheel so the car doesn't roll, and then we'll get that front wheel off and see how it goes. We use the screwdriver to pop off the center cap. Oops. Shoot. Drop my wrench. Now we're going to use, we'll show you the different tools we're going to use here for the project. We've got the handy breaker bar, 24-inch, not a real big one, but good enough. And then we've got the socket for the lug bolts, 21 millimeter. And we're going to use that to break loose each of the lug bolts on the wheel. Then we'll use my DeWalt Impact cordless driver that the kids got me for Father's Day that I just absolutely love to take the bolts off the rest of the way and speed up the process. We've also got PB Blaster penetrating oil laid out here in case we need it, a hammer, the C-clamp to compress the pistons in the brake caliper, the new brake pads, a flashlight in case I need to see something because I'm getting old, a ratchet handle for the 1/2-inch drive, screwdriver to pry with, and this is the only special tool you really need to do the project here is this Allen wrench socket. You don't really need it. You can use it with a regular Allen wrench, but I have to tell you, this makes it way easier. This was well worth the $4.50 I paid for it at the auto parts store. And I'm trying to see if it says on there what size it is, and I can't seem to, it doesn't seem to say what size it is for some reason. It's got the number H9 stamped on it, so I'm guessing it could be a 9 millimeter. That would be my guess. It says H9, so it's probably a 9 millimeter, and it's a 6-point Allen type fitting, and that's used to remove the bolts that hold the caliper onto the wheel hub. Alright, I just gave each lug nut about a 1/2 turn with the big breaker bar to break them loose while the wheel is still on the ground. The ground helps hold the wheel steady so it doesn't want to spin around on you. Now that it's loose, we'll give it a couple quick pumps, and this jack lifts it up so fast. That's so nice. Look at that. Just right up in the air in like 4 pumps, and we're up in the air and good to go. The cordless impact gun makes quick work of the lug nuts. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Alright, the wheel's off. Let's just go through and identify some of the basic parts for you if you don't know what all these parts are. This is the caliper. This is the part that squeezes the brake pads together and pinches this rotor with a shiny surface here. And the friction of the caliper squeezing the rotor is what causes the vehicle to slow down and stop. In the back there you have the strut assembly with the coil spring on it. You've got the upper control arm with a ball joint on it. You have a lower control arm with a torsion bar connection and a ball joint on that. A tie rod end here, the outer tie rod end, and assorted other ABS sensor. What else we have back here? On the 4-wheel, I think we've got a vacuum hose, possibly for the 4-wheel drive engagement, to lock the hubs. What else we have here? I don't know. Most of that stuff I guess you don't really need to know what it is. There's not really that much here. We're working on the brakes, so that's about all we need to know. Behind here is the front wheel bearing, which we would rock the wheel back and forth top to bottom and see if there's any play in it. We'll also take and squeeze the ball joint from top to bottom with a large pair of channel locking pliers to see if there's any play in that. We'll compress that with the pliers too and see if there's any play in the ball joints upper and lower. I just had to check this fairly recently, so I don't think there's going to be a problem. We can also see that I just turned the wheel all the way toward the right so that the back side of it that we're going to be working on faces out more and is easier to access. We've also opened the hood and we're going to crack open the cap for the brake fluid reservoir, and that way when we compress the cylinders in the caliper, it'll make it easier for the brake fluid to flow back upward into the reservoir. Move the dust caps on the back side of these rubber fittings here, little plastic dust caps that fit into this rubber. That will allow access to those special Allen wrench bolts I was talking about that hold the caliper in place. There's two of them, one on top and one on the bottom. We'll just set those aside. And now we'll get our special wrench here, put it in the hole and wiggle it until it goes all the way in. And we're going to set the wrench for open, or reverse, or unscrew, or however you want to describe it. And now we will remove the bolt. The mounting bolts have both been loosened. They're all the way out, but they're still not actually coming out because they're held in place by this rubber boot here and a little bit of friction, and they get dried out to lose their lubrication and they don't want to come out all the way. So there's a little bit of a trick to it. While you're pulling down on your ratchet wrench, you're going to want to kind of angle it outward and push away from the hole as you're twisting it out, and that'll help you actually pull those. See how it's coming out now? Get it in there and push outward. There we go. Then the more you push while you're turning, I should say pull while you're turning, it's going to come further and further out until it gets out all the way. Now you see this is a special slide bolt. The caliper actually slides back and forth on this surface here as you apply the brakes. So you're going to want to make sure this is super clean without any corrosion or little bits of rubber debris or dirt stuck to it, and then lube it with the special brake lube that you can buy in the little packets at Auto Parts. Pry off the anti-rattle bracket by putting a screwdriver here and just popping it off like that. There we go. That's an anti-rattle bracket. So that side we will need that because that does not come with the new brakes. Alright, now to get the caliper off, we're just going to stick a pry tool of some sort down in here and pry it back and forth from the top and bottom until it pops off. We also, the inner brake pad will come off with the caliper on this vehicle, and you want to support the weight of the caliper. You don't want to let it hang by that rubber hose. You can damage the rubber hose if you let it hang by that. A lot of people will balance it up there on top, which is okay if you're really careful and don't let it fall on you. Other people recommend tying it up with a piece of strong wire or a coat hanger to keep it up and out of the way and to keep the weight from damaging and stretching this brake fluid hose or even damaging the other wiring and connections on here if it were to hit it if it fell. So keep it up and safe and out of the way. The brake pads on this side are here. We're going to pop those off next. And there's this particular model, they have some very secure anti-rattle springs on them on top and bottom here that you got to kind of pop loose. And then you just pop it right out like that with a screwdriver and bring it down. You can see the actual brake pads on this really aren't that bad, but I had a little caliper issue on the other side. So I had brake rotor issue on the other side, possibly a caliper issue too. So what we did is take this apart and change them both. You might as well, if you've got the set of brake pads for both sides, you might as well change both sides so they're even and hopefully last about the same amount of time. Alright, the rotor has a little bit of wear on the back side. It's not perfectly smooth like I'd like it. I'm going to see if it comes off easy. If it comes off easy, I'm going to take it up to the auto parts store and see if they can turn it down nice and smooth again. If not, I will reuse it. I don't want to pay another $75 for it because it's really not that bad. So I've sprayed it down. with penetrating oil around all the bolt holes there, around the center wheel bearing mount. Even sprayed a little bit on the back side or on the back face of the wheel bearing mount. And now we need to remove this caliper mounting bracket here in order for the rotor to have room to come off. And there's two 13mm bolts goes through the back side here. You'll definitely need the breaker bar to get those off because they're on really tight. Well, our rotor took a beating trying to get it off. Got banged up quite a bit around the edges. And if we look at this shiny spot here, is only just a tiny little fraction of the surface of the rotor. That means the brake pad back here on this side was only touching it in this little tiny area. And it should be touching across the whole 2.5 inches or so, 2 inches or so here. So, sad to say it, but looks like we're going to have to spend another $80 or so for another rotor.